Welcome to LawFlip. It's an unfiltered conversation about law, life, Lisa Bloom, and everything in between. Today we speak to Lisa Bloom, who's been involved in some of the most high-profile sexual misconduct cases in this country. She's a lawyer. She's a media personality. Her mom is the Michael Jordan of press conferences, Gloria Allred. And just for today, she's our spectacular guest of LawFlip. Lisa, you're very good at getting the word out. What do we talk about today?
Well, I think we talk about sexual harassment. We talk about race discrimination. We talk about people who can stand up and fight back against powerful people who take advantage of them.
Love it. Let's get into the episode.
LawFlip, objection, Your Honor. Turn the game upside down. LawFlip, objection, Your Honor. Turn the game upside down.
Lisa Bloom, this is exciting. This is exciting to have you on. I've been watching you and your mother, Gloria Allred, on TV for many years.
Forever. Thank you, Benjy. It's nice to be here.
Yeah. So you were born and raised in where?
I was born in Philadelphia, but I was raised in Los Angeles, in beautiful downtown Burbank, not far from here.
Okay. And then you go to UCLA and my second choice for law school, Yale.
What was your first choice?
No, I wasn't, but I always say that. I went to Loyola, but Yale,
right.
Yale was a close second. So
my mom went to Loyola. There's nothing wrong with Loyola.
Yeah, it's a good school. So we both grew up with successful litigators. My dad, Mark, your mother, Gloria. But you went into the same exact sort of field as your mom, and she represents victims. She was the queen of press conferences. She is the queen of press conferences. Nobody's ever done a press conference like her. But the decision to go do the same type of work as your mom, tell me about that.
Well, this is the kind of work that I really like to do. I like to represent victims. I like to represent underdogs. Corporate America has fleets of lawyers at their disposal. They have no problem getting lawyers, but everyday people, they do. And, many people contact me and they say, "You're my last resort." Sometimes I say, well, could I be your first resort next time? I don't know if that's a compliment or not. But in all seriousness, there's a lot of need out there for people to represent victims of discrimination, harassment, and abuse. And that's what we do. We have to turn away, probably 98% of the people who reach out to us. And, the cases that we do take, we fight hard. But I feel a real sense of purpose in this work. I think all the attorneys in my firm do. And that's why we do it.
Yeah, you'd think, like with all the billboards and everything, you'd think access to the court system is easy because there's lawyers everywhere willing to take cases. But for employment cases, discrimination cases, like you do and actually like I do as well, we have to turn down a ton of them.
And that's because it's hard. The cases are tough.
Yeah.
You're up against big, powerful entities, and they have all the money and all the power and all the private investigators. And I have a case right now where we have like 4 law firms on the other side. Every time we gain an advantage in the case, they hire another law firm. I don't know how that's going to help them, really.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the facts of the case. But, a lot of lawyers, I think, start out wanting to do this kind of work, representing victims, and after a few years, they burn out or they can't make a go of it economically. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. But you had your mom sort of as a guiding light, I guess. I worked with my dad. He's a legend. He's an incredible litigator. Very tough to work with family. I know that you did at some point work with your mom.
I did. I actually had a great time working with my mom. And I'm not, just sugarcoating it because, look, she's a smart, tough lawyer. And I'm a pretty smart, tough lawyer. And, I didn't necessarily... I wasn't sure how that was going to go. This was in the 90s. I went to work for her in her law firm 1991. I was 5 years out of law school. I was like, what am I doing in this big firm in New York? That's not really the kind of work I want to do. If it was any firm other than my mom, if it just wasn't my mom, that's where I would want to be, doing sexual harassment, women's rights cases. So I finally relented. She always wanted me to come work with her. And I said, okay, I'll come. So I came out. And for those 9 years, 1991 to 2000, I worked in her firm. I learned a ton. And after that, I went to Court TV. I did television full-time for almost a decade. Then I came back and started my own law firm, the Bloom firm, where I've been for the last, 11 years or so. I think this is my last job. This is the one that, kind of brings it all together, having my own firm, running my own law firm, having my team.
What's the staff like? What's the staff
So
level?
we have, I think, 11 lawyers right now.
Wow.
So me plus 10. I'm the sole owner. I just made somebody partner, a wonderful attorney named Eric Fudali. And we have another, I'm going to say 8 non-attorney staffers, paralegals, assistants, finance director, and so forth.
That's awesome.
But this team, I mean, I've gotten to the point, Benjy, where I've put together this team that I'm just so proud of. They're so smart and hardworking, and I don't need to do everything.
That is hard, but that is hard to do. To build it, to manage it is a very tough thing to do. So, credit to you for that.
Thank you.
So you've handled sexual misconduct cases with the likes of Trump, Donald Trump, Bill O'Reilly, Bill Cosby, Jeffrey Epstein, the A-list of something.
So we just won our 8th out of 8 cases against Jeffrey Epstein.
When you say
litigation.
one,
by one, so you'll think of it differently than the average person. When I say one, it means we got a financial award that our clients are very happy with. Okay, so we
settlement or
it's a settlement.
Okay,
yes. So we, Jeffrey Epstein, as you know, I'm sure, died in prison. It was either suicide or it wasn't, depending on what you believe. But he died in prison. I'm not going there. And I represent.
I love a good conspiracy.
There's a lot of questions about what happened. Some people question if he's even dead. I think he is dead.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I represented 8 of his victims, and we sued the estate, and that was back in 2019. And for 2 years, it was a long, hard-fought thing where we forced them to set up a victim compensation fund.
Yeah.
My law firm fought hard for that. Other law firms for other plaintiffs also did that. So we all joined together, and we got a system set up that was very favorable to the victims. And then we fought within that, and 5 out of our 8 were awarded what we considered to be acceptable, real strong settlements. 3 were denied. We continued fighting for those 3, and we eventually got it for those 3 too. So we won 8 out of 8, and I just think it's a great victory.
That is amazing.
And I just want people to know, I don't want to just always be bragging about our victories.
No, you should.
But I do it really because I want people to know, a lot of women in particular feel like, I was a victim of a high profile predator. There's nothing that I can do. I just have to suffer the rest of my life. And you don't. Victory is really possible.
Yeah. You've been dealing with predators like Trump, like O'Reilly, Cosby, Epstein. What have you found to be, what do these sickos have in common?
Ego. I think many of them really convinced themselves they didn't do anything wrong. I think Cosby's in that group, that women really just wanted them. It was always consensual. The women are all liars and greedy and out for money and crazy. I just hear the same thing in every case. I know my clients say to me, he knows what he did. How is he denying it? And I say, you know what? He honestly, the human mind is a fascinating thing. One of the things I like the most about my work is the psychology of it, the way that every case is different. And human beings, I think we really do convince ourselves of things that aren't true.
Yes.
And people who do bad things, I think they really convince themselves that they didn't.
100%. Okay. So people who do bad things, one of them, Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
And you found yourself working with him. And ultimately, you sort of, I don't know if you got canceled or you got called out for your work with Harvey Weinstein, and you since apologized profusely. What do you think you learned from it? What was the allure to get involved with this guy in the first place?
Well, at the time, my law firm was doing about 95% victim side and about 5% representing people who were accused. And that had gone very well for years. The people who, on the accused side, not everybody who's accused is guilty. And we represented people when we felt, the charges were overblown or the person was innocent. And there had been a number of them. And as I said, they all went well. Harvey Weinstein came to me, convinced me that he was in that category. I mean, this is way before any woman had come out with any allegation of sexual assault. And what was happening was journalists were asking questions of women, and those women were getting back to Harvey and his team and saying, well, why are these journalists reaching out to me? And he was insistent, as he has been all the way through. He never did anything wrong, et cetera. And he was willing to talk to the journalists. And anyway, I knew some of the people on his team. I knew that he was very friendly with people like Linda Fairstein, who's a feminist attorney in New York, and he was friendly with Gloria Steinem, and he was having dinner with Hillary Clinton, and he was traveling in these circles of people who I really admired, and he was very convincing to me, and I did a lot of research, and that just what was going on was he was accused, I thought, of verbal misconduct, and he was willing to apologize. He was willing to talk to reporters. And I thought,
I don't think
this is very doable.
Yeah, everybody looks at it and says, how could you have done it? You fought for victims all this time. And there's a real point to that. But I think pre-Me Too, you have Hillary Clinton meeting with this guy. He's the biggest entertainment personality and probably the most powerful entertainment executive in the world at that point. One of them, at least.
I mean, it wasn't the power. It was, he had done these LGBT films. He'd done Holocaust films. He did that movie Sicko about the health insurance industry. And I saw Michael Moore stand up and talk about what a great guy, Harvey Weinstein was. This was years earlier. And I thought, people are like, oh, well, didn't you know there's all these whisper campaigns in Hollywood? I'm not an actress. I don't hang out on movie sets. Nobody whispered anything to me.
When you were advising him and helping him through this thing, what did it like? Was it just tough for you?
No,
or did you just view it as
Listen,
like, hey, this is the assignment?
I realize now I was completely deluded, like the other 100 people who worked with him, right? We all thought he's a guy who's got some issues, like he's got an anger management problem, but I never imagined that he sexually assaulted even one woman, much less dozens and dozens, as we now know. As soon as the first woman came out with an accusation of sexual assault, I was gone immediately. I was the first one on the legal team to say, goodbye, I'm out, okay? But, I did learn a lot from this. I learned what a sociopath, how convincing they can be. Even of me, I was deluded, right?
Yeah.
Even somebody like me.
It almost because you're a very smart lawyer, it almost informs you or maybe, strengthens your advocacy on behalf of women to say like, Jesus, if I could sort of
If I could be convinced by this monster, if I could fall for his lies, I sometimes have compassion for the defense attorneys on my cases. They say, oh, I know this guy. He's a great guy. I mean, and I'm like, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. I've been there.
Well, that's a good point. So Weinstein clearly deserves to be canceled and have all this stuff thrown at him.
Incarcerated, which is where he is and where he will be for the rest of his life. Thank God.
But are there any sexual misconduct defendants that, in your view, don't deserve to be canceled? Are there redeemable?
Well, so you use the phrase sexual misconduct wisely, which is a very broad term, right? So sexual misconduct, it could be verbal. If somebody says words that are offensive, I mean, that's bad. That's sexual harassment, especially in the workplace. That's bad, and I bring cases for that. But I also think it's redeemable. I think people can forgive. If they want to forgive that person, they can go. So sexual misconduct runs from words to, full-on rape, right? And that's a big spectrum. So as to who should be canceled or what should be canceled, I mean, I leave it really up to the victims to decide. Listen, I myself was the victim of sexual harassment. I've talked about it a little bit. The head of a TV studio where I worked pushed me up against a wall, shoved his tongue down my throat. I was horrified. I was shocked. I was horrified. I was already known as a sexual harassment lawyer. And that he would do that to me, I'm like, this guy out of his mind, right? So I went and complained to Human Resources in writing. I made them do the investigation. And you know what? He apologized. And we talked about it. And we had a good working relationship. After a couple of uncomfortable weeks, we had a good working relationship after that for years. And I forgave him. And that's why I don't say his name publicly.
Right. And you have thank God, the privilege of like knowing that if you needed to, you could file a lawsuit, you could do stuff.
Right. But I felt like I felt like I wanted to forgive him, and I did forgive him. I think, but that was up to me. As I wouldn't presume for other women to tell them whether they should forgive or not. The
confidentiality rules. So tell us about your thoughts on like pre-litigation ability to settle cases involving sexual misconduct, and how does that affect how you proceed in your cases?
So the confidentiality rules, or NDAs, this is a big issue in my practice. And it's actually very easy for us. The question is, what does the client want? So every client, we have a couple of new ones. I've just been talking to them about this. I tell them at the very beginning, the other side is going to want an NDA. So before we even get to the money, how do you feel about that? Do you want that? Do you not want that? And we talk about it and the implication. You might want it now. Let's say she's 25 years old. How are you going to, this is for the rest of your life.
Yep.
So how are you going to feel when you're 35, 45? I want you to really think about this. I would say 98% of my clients want them.
Yeah.
They do
or they're okay with them.
Actually, it's more than okay. They want it because they want the other side to be bound as well.
Yeah.
They don't want anybody talking about them. They want to have their career. Most women, we can deal with some inappropriate language, even being touched a little bit. What we don't want is our careers being affected.
Yeah.
And they, if it's most of our cases are against high profile people.
Yeah.
They do not want to be blacklisted in their industry.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. So they want confidentiality. Some of them don't. I had a race discrimination case recently on behalf of a guy who really did not he wanted to be able to talk about his incidents of race discrimination. We fought that one for a while, and we finally came up with a settlement where he is allowed to talk about it in a certain way. We came up with language that he's allowed to use. And we've done that in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a middle ground.
Sure.
There's negotiated language they're allowed to use. But it's really something people have to think about.
Yeah. Press conferences. So your mom, Gloria Allred, the GOAT, as the kids say, Michael Jordan of press conferences.
Yep.
You have done the same type of stuff.
Yeah.
Why do you do it? Is it helpful? Like, practically speaking, out of 10 cases, how does it affect the case?
It has a number of benefits. Number one, it brings out witnesses and other plaintiffs, other victims. So for example, I had a case in the city of Linwood against a sitting city council member there, accusing him of sexual harassment. My client decided to do a press conference with me, and we talk about this endlessly with the clients too, make sure that it's really right for them, right for the case. They sleep on it, they make the decision. Most of the cases we don't do it, but we decided in that case to do it. And I looked right at the camera in that case in the press conference, and I said, if anybody else is a victim of this guy, I want you to please contact me. You don't have to stand alone. And 2 days later, a woman called me and said, were you talking to me? And I said, well, I don't know you, but yes, actually I was. And she was also a victim of this guy. So I represented the two of them. There's so much more power with 2 or 3 than 1. And we got a very good result from my first client. We got her, this is not confidential, so I'm allowed to say, we got her an $850,000 settlement. This is for somebody who's making $40,000 a year. So that was very powerful. And the second woman ran for city council and got his seat.
That is
That's
amazing.
That's what happens when I do press conferences. With the Bill O'Reilly case, I took Wendy Walsh, my client. We stood up and we did a press conference, and I said, if anybody else is a victim of Bill O'Reilly, please contact me. I got 2 more. We had a campaign for 3 weeks to get rid of him. Everybody said he's the number 1 guy in cable. You'll never get rid of Bill O'Reilly.
I mean,
within 3 weeks, we got rid of him.
It is actually, so his downfall was 3 weeks after you brought Clinton.
Yes. So I don't want to take all the credit. There were New York Times.
That would be a pretty good thing to get credit for.
I don't want to take all the credit.
I was a big fan. Like, the weirdest thing about him is I hate watched him. I hate watched Bill O'Reilly since I was I hate watched Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity because they were freaking entertaining.
They were, but Bill. So the New York Times did a whole expose on him, and they did a big report about 6 women who he had sexually harassed. But I knew that he had endured this before, and that he would probably endure this if this was a one-day story.
Yeah.
So I got Wendy Walsh, who was my client and friend, and said, we're not going to let this die a one-day story. We're going to get rid of him. And she's like, Lisa, there's no way. And I said, just follow my lead. We're going to do this, Wendy. She happens to be beautiful, good on TV. I knew we had that going for us. Okay, so we had a press conference. We called for other victims. We kept it in the news. We did an internal complaint. I videotaped it. I posted that online. And I said on Twitter, to the Murdochs, I'm representing them all for free. He's got to go. And I'm going to keep going until he's gone. Within 3 weeks, after a lot of press conferences.
Why'd you do that? Why'd you represent him for free?
Because he needed to go. Because he had sexually harassed 6 women.
I know, but so do all the other guys.
Not
people
6. 6 is a lot. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I currently represent 3 women against Paul Marciano at Guess. There's over a dozen women. He's still there.
Yeah.
I find that really offensive, especially at a women's brand, Guess.
Is that publicly owned or is it
It's
private
public.
company?
I believe it's publicly traded. Yes.
That's interesting.
So I find it just, when there's multiple women, how many women have to come forward before they're believed? If there's 6, he should be gone.
Right.
And I was very deeply disturbed by that, the fact that Fox had kept him and covered this up over and over. And I knew that in his contract, there had to be new allegations for them to get rid of him.
The spin stops with you.
Listen,
that was his main line. The spin stops here.
The spin stops here.
Okay, so getting business. Obviously, the press conferences help. Your media appearances help. Referrals, that's a big thing for attorneys. I don't know how much of it you rely on in your business, but a lot of lawyers do. Do you not?
I don't rely on it at all.
Really? That's actually pretty rare.
I mean, I'm always happy if somebody wants to refer a case, and we'll talk about it. But I have so many people reaching out to me every week. We have probably 100 a week reaching out.
Okay, what's the key? What is the key to get people reaching out to you other than being amazing and being a great lawyer? Because there are great lawyers that don't get people calling.
Listen, what people say to me over and over is, I feel that you understand, Lisa. I feel that, I need a very strong advocate here. In a sexual assault case, which is most of our cases are sexual harassment, sexual assault, it's very personal. And my clients feel that I understand. And they're right. I do understand.
Yeah.
And we also do a lot of race discrimination, police misconduct. There's not enough people doing those cases. So, we were out there at the Black Lives Matter protests. I represent 3 Black Lives Matter protesters who were shot in the face by police rubber bullets last year. I represent a 16-year-old black girl in Lancaster who was assaulted by the school security officer. I mean, I've written a book about race discrimination in the criminal justice system called Suspicion Nation. So I feel that the African-American community has a certain level of trust in me, and it's trust that I have to earn every day. Mm-hmm. But I'm honored by that.
What motivates you? Obviously, you've been able to achieve a lot financially and build a nice firm for yourself, but you're clearly still busting your butt.
You know what?
What is motivating
Things
you?
are just wrong, Benjy. I get an email about a case, as I do, all the time, and I look at it and I go, you know what? This is just wrong. It just makes me mad. Injustice makes me mad. And it's always just regular people who are getting taken advantage of by powerful people. If you're a powerful person and you're wealthy, why don't you treat the people at the lower end of the spectrum with a little bit of respect? Is that so much to ask?
Apparently.
And I think I get really pissed off when people at the lower end of the hierarchy are disrespected, whether it's in the workplace or anywhere else. It's just wrong. Racism burns me up. And these powerful guys taking advantage, it just burns me up. That's what motivates me.
Lisa's excited. She's amped up, and she's so amped up, it's moving us to our legal tip of the month.
This is the legal tip of the month, sponsored by the power hitters at Benowitz Law Corporation. So it's December. It's holiday season. Many of you may work at companies that have holiday parties. 2 tips for you. First, behave yourself. If you do bad things at a holiday party, you can be fired for them. Don't do it. Second, if something bad happens to you, you're sexually harassed, someone makes an off-color remark to you and it really bothers you, complain about it. Your rights as an employee still exist at the company holiday party, and if someone does wrong by you, assert those rights and complain in writing.
Okay, Lisa, I got you laughing, but here's the thing. You're getting harassed at work and you're a current employee. Mm-hmm. You quit or you stay miserable. Those are your only 2 options, right?
No.
No, Lisa, those are not your only 2 options. As you know, you can hire us, we could talk to the employer, and we can negotiate a smooth exit. The thing is that if you're miserable, the employer is probably in an uncomfortable situation too. A lot of times I find that when I contact them and I talk to their attorneys, they're excited about the conversation because they're not really willing. They don't have the chutzpah, as they say in my old language, to fire the employee, but they're very happy to talk about a nice exit.
Okay, but I would do something else before that.
Talk to me.
The employee must do a written complaint to Human Resources, keep a copy in her personal email, not her work email, which might get turned off if she gets fired. A written complaint with the who, what, when, where of what happened.
I couldn't agree more,
January 2nd, Mr. X came into my office and he said, I want to have sex with you. Whatever it is, just say what happened. Complain in writing. It is so essential.
See, I was going to give a short legal tip, and so this is the thing. Lawyers qualify everything, but I have to do these short legal tips.
Okay.
And Lisa helped me make the legal tip even better. So, if you have a problem, you're miserable at work, you don't want to quit, you don't want to stay, call us will tell you exactly what to do, including Lisa's tip of writing down the complaint. Thank you so much. You can call us at 1-833-LawFlip. Lisa, thank you so much for spending time with me. If you've enjoyed this episode of LawFlip, please subscribe to all of our channels. Lisa, please tell us, how do we contact you at the Bloom Law Firm? How do we find you? And any parting words for the LawFlip audience?
Thank you for having me. I'm very easy to find online. Lisa Bloom, Bloom on Twitter. Lisa Bloom, ESQ on Instagram. I'm very active on both of those. The website is thebloomfirm.com. And parting words, stand up for your rights, fight back. You're going to become empowered, and you're going to be glad you did it.
Love it. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We'll see you next year.
LawFlip, objection, Your Honor. Turn the game upside down. LawFlip, objection, Your Honor. Turn the game upside down.
Connect with us on Instagram. We're at LawFlip. LawFlip is produced by Blue Crescent Media. You can learn more about BCM at bluecrescentmedia.com. Our intro music is provided by Penn Practice, and our LawFlip identity was created by Garrett Whiston and Travis Nagel. And lastly, this podcast is made available by Smith & Benowitz for educational and entertainment purposes only. By listening to this podcast, you understand that no attorney-client relationship is being formed between you and Smith & Benowitz or any of its attorneys. This podcast should not be used as a substitute for competent legal advice from a licensed professional attorney in your state. To the extent this podcast may be considered an advertisement, Benjamin Smith is the attorney responsible for this advertisement. Thank you.
Upside down.